and any of the juices that the shrimp secrete. I'm not going to use the word secrete. Let me do that again. Making a professional quality Alfredo at home may sound intimidating, but I'm going to make it easy for you and show you a recipe for how to make one that doesn't require any cream and one that you can throw together any night of the week. You can find the recipe for our shrimp Alfredo at southernliving.com. And if you like this video, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any in the future. We're going to first get our pasta cooked and removed from the water and set aside before we make our sauce or prepare our shrimp. It's essential to season your boiling water with quite a lot of salt. In this recipe, you'll notice 4 quarts of water is going to require about a 1/4 cup of kosher salt. And that's because this salt in the water will season the pasta from the inside out. And I'm going to add it to my boiling water. And for this recipe, you can really use any wide pasta noodle that you have. You want it to be wide because there's more surface area for the pasta sauce to cling to. Here I have fettuccine and I have 12 ounces. The recipe calls explicitly for 1/2 cup of reserved pasta water, but it's always good to have a little bit more if your sauce gets too thick, because then we can add it to thin out the sauce later. So I'm gonna remove 1 cup of pasta water and just set it aside. And now I'm gonna strain my pasta. Now that my pasta is cooked, I'm just setting it aside while I make the sauce. The first step to making the sauce is cooking the shrimp. You don't wanna overcook shrimp or it gets really tough, so this is not the moment to walk away from your pan. We're gonna heat this over medium heat and melt 2 tablespoons of butter. And then we're gonna add 12 ounces of fresh, peeled, and deveined shrimp. It'll take about 3 minutes for them to cook. They'll turn a light pink and they'll curl a little bit, and we'll remove them from the heat immediately. Most Alfredo sauces are really heavy with cream, and cream-based sauces actually make it harder to taste the more delicate flavors in a sauce. So I'm gonna show you how to make a professional Alfredo using just milk, pasta water, an egg yolk, and some really high quality Parmigiano Reggiano. I have a 1/2 cup of whole milk right here. It's at room temperature, and I'm adding 1 egg yolk, and I'm just gonna mix until it's combined. The egg yolk, as it heats, does something similar to the pasta water. Both of them will catch the water molecules in the sauce and make it really velvety and thick. So now that my egg yolk and my milk are combined, I'm going to take a 1/2 cup of that reserved pasta water that we pulled away from the stove earlier, and I'm just gonna slowly stream it in. And we are now ready to make our sauce. In the same saucepan that you cooked your shrimp, you can make your sauce, and you don't really even need to clean it out because all of the juices that are kind of released from the shrimp as they cook will contribute to the flavor of the sauce. So take your saucepan, put it over medium heat, and let's get going. I'm going to melt 4 more tablespoons of butter, and once it's melted and nice and hot, I'm gonna add 2 cloves of garlic that I've finely minced. After the garlic becomes really fragrant, we're gonna add our milk mixture to the saucepan. So we're gonna whisk this until the butter is no longer separate from the rest of the wet ingredients. We're gonna add 2 3-inch pieces of lemon peel that I've just pulled off of a lemon with a vegetable peeler. We're gonna pull these out before we serve the dish. But what they do is they brighten up the sauce and make everything just a little tastier and easier to taste. Now that the sauce is bubbling and foamy, I'm going to add about 1 cup of my Parmigiano Reggiano and just slowly sprinkle some in at a time. This slow incorporation encourages the sauce to remain smooth and prevents any lumps of cheese from developing in the sauce. Now that my cheese is incorporated, I'm going to turn the heat to medium-low and just stir occasionally until the sauce thickens and it becomes very smooth. This will take about 5 minutes. Now that the sauce is thickened and becomes smooth, we're gonna go ahead and add our pasta. If you notice that it's still splitting a little bit from the butter, just add a little more of that reserved pasta water and pop it back over the heat. And that'll encourage it to all come together. Now that my sauce is ready to go, I'm going to add my 12 ounces of cooked pasta. And I'm simply gonna stir the pasta in the sauce to coat the pasta. I'm also gonna pop it back over the heat because now I'm gonna add my last 1/4 cup of Parmigiano Reggiano that I've grated earlier. And it will all melt and meld together to make this really saucy, cheesy pasta. This pasta smells incredible. It smells buttery, it smells rich with the scent of Parmesan and also the lemon. And now that the pasta is done, I'm going to add my 12 ounces of cooked shrimp and just toss them in the pasta. I've added my shrimp, and now I'm gonna add some fresh cracked pepper because I really like it. If that's not your thing, you don't have to include it. And then a small handful of fresh chopped parsley, just to also help brighten things up. I've plated my Alfredo, and I'm gonna give it just a little bit more of the Parmigiano Reggiano because I love it. All right, now I'm gonna give it a try. The pasta is not too saucy. It's just coated in the right amount of sauce, and it's got that delicious and creamy texture and flavor without being overpowering and too rich. And the shrimp is just sweet and chewy enough to complement the rest of the pasta. I am confident that you can make this at home.